Women in Focus, a podcast by British Naturism. Welcome to Women in Focus, a podcast brought to you by British Naturism. I'm your host, Helen Berryman, and today we bring you episode 13. I'm so pleased. This podcast has been going for a year now, and I really enjoy doing it, and I hope you enjoy listening to it too. We do like to hear from our listeners, so if you've got any people that you want to hear from, then obviously do let us know. And that leads us nicely into a new little feature. We are hearing from people more and more now, so I'm going to talk about some of the letters that we do get, and I'm going to discuss them with my fellow Women in Naturism, fellow British Naturism member, Siobhan. So let's welcome Siobhan as we discuss our letters. Hi, Siobhan.
Hi, Helen.
Okay, so welcome to Siobhan, who's going to help me out with the letters section. I know I've not given you any homework for this or anything, so I'm just going to read it.
I'm going to try and help you out with the letters.
I'm sure you will. It beats talking to myself about the letters anyway, that's for sure. So I won't give this person's name because I haven't checked whether it's okay to do so.
Sure.
But I will read it to you and then let me know what you think. Dear Helen, first of all, thank you for the podcasts. I've never really liked wearing clothes, but only recently admitted to my wife, who has just accepted me being naked at home and is quite supportive. However, she is another one who says she never will. My added complication is that a couple of years ago, I finally accepted I am autistic, which might explain why I don't like clothes, sensory issues, and a feeling of throwing off the mask and being accepted for who I am, maybe. My concern, though, was your comments about spotting perverts as they don't do eye contact. This is something autistic people really struggle with. Trying to look at people's eyes actually hurts for some of us. It's a bit like trying to look at a bright light. Also, I'm worried about saying something unsuitable as I lack a filter. Also, we find chatting in groups, especially small talk, really stressful. There must be many autistic naturists. I'd be interested to know how they cope. Even better if you could interview an autistic naturist. Well, I'm just going to start off by saying I think many people that we've had on already can relate. And Siobhan, you've got quite a lot of experience with this subject.
I do. Well, my son's autistic for a start. So my advice is plain and simple. Say straight up, hi, I'm whatever my name is. I'm autistic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more tolerance for people nowadays. There's a lot more understanding of autism nowadays. Lots of people know that eye contact and being in groups and all the things that your writer has mentioned are difficult for people with autism. So don't be afraid to say, hi, I'm autistic. I can't do eye contact. And I find talking in small groups really difficult. Now, that in itself is hard to do.
Yeah.
So what my son and I used to do, I'll give you a small example. After his dad died, my son decided he wanted to go to visit a pen friend in America he'd never met. And he was really worried about how he was going to hold a conversation. I was quite concerned about it too, because conversations tend to go like this. Hi, Jack, how are you? I'm fine. So what we used to do is practice conversations at night together. And I would tell him, try saying, hi, I'm Jack. They say, hi, Jack, how are you? Try saying, I'm fine, and how are you? And he said, but I'm not really bothered how they are. I said,
Yeah.
Point. There you go. There's the things of saying things that might be inappropriate. It was just for him learning that doesn't matter. You just have to listen. That's what social convention is.
Yeah.
So you can do that. You can practice what the things are to say and have a spiel, as it were, which Jack now has. So he has certain 3 or 4 sentences that he says when he meets somebody for the first time.
So they're like his stock of answers, responses.
Yeah. I don't actually know exactly what they are, but there's something along the line of, hi, I'm Jack, I'm autistic, I find talking really difficult. So forgive me if I don't make eye contact with you, and forgive me if I have to leave halfway during the conversation.
Yeah, it's out there then. It's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's exacerbated in a naturist environment? Because our writer mentioned a comment we made on a previous podcast And I don't think we meant like people that don't do eye contact. It's quite the opposite, actually. So when they do, like...
I have to agree with you there, Helen. I've not met many weirdo naturists, but the one or two that I have met have stared straight into my eyes,
yeah,
like they're reading my soul.
mm.
Yeah, I don't think the not making eye contact thing is as big a deal, so long as you're not looking at inappropriate parts of the body. And that is something else you can learn. So
Right.
if you're looking down, make sure you're not looking at a woman's breasts.
Yeah, that's really good advice, actually. Yeah.
So it's that sort of thing, or don't stare at somebody's penis. You're probably not staring at it, but make sure your head is in a position where you're deliberately looking away or you're deliberately looking up.
Mm.
And I think there are a lot of autistic naturists.
Yeah.
When Jack was little, the first thing he did when he came in from school was throw his clothes off at the front door. Before we even closed the front door, Jack's clothes were off.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a very valid point with the sensory issues. Like some people, like we take our bras off immediately. But like,
oh my gosh, the minute you open the door.
Well, in fact, we don't put them on anymore.
No, exactly.
Well, I hope that has been useful to our writer.
If your writer wanted to get in touch with me, if I can help in any way, be more than happy.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, you can contact Siobhan via me through the podcast, or I can pop your email address on the show notes. Okay, have we got time for one more?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this one is in response to the podcast I did with Sam from H&E magazine. And we talked about online behaviour, but I think it was misconstrued. So our writer says, I listened to your podcast with Sam and H&E magazine and was saddened by all the negative comments towards men and specifically single men in nudism. There are perverts and creeps everywhere, but I don't really think we have larger numbers than churches, schools and Boy Scouts. As a married man whose wife won't accompany him to any resorts, beaches or events, I am ostracised enough as it is. People assume I'm either gay or a pervert. I'm neither. I am an unaccompanied male nudist who would love to have a nudist friend or friends if possible. He also goes on to say that his wife is not a fan at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I understand his point. Now, he's deemed as a single man simply because he's unaccompanied by a partner.
Yeah.
Like I said before, the interview with Sam was actually about online behaviour and not about people at events and whatnot. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen. So what do you think?
I think there is a huge difference between online behaviour and what happens at events. I think there are some women who look on unaccompanied men as all being either gay or pervert, but I think they're absolutely in the minority. In fact, I was in a meeting just recently, which was men and women, and the subject of single men came up, and a woman made a comment, and every other woman in the room jumped on her and said, that's not fair, that's not true, that's not my experience with naturism. And her comment was that one particular bloke had made her feel uncomfortable at a festival, and she had turned that into, you should never have single blokes at a festival.
Right. So what she should have done was called it out there and then.
That's what we said.
Yeah.
And that's what all the women in the room said. And it was very funny that not a single man needed to jump to the defense of the man because all the other women in the room did. Because generally speaking, most women's experience of naturism is that men are respectful. That's certainly been mine.
Yeah, and mine.
But online is a different matter because you don't know who you're talking to online. And there are plenty of naturists online who are not in fact naturists. And it's the same in the dating world.
Right.
And he quite rightly says the same in churches. I mean, I met my husband on a Christian dating site, but before I met him, I met 6 or 7 other blokes who proclaimed to be Christians until I met them face to face. And they just turned out to be weirdos and perverts. And I don't think it's any different in the naturist online world. I think you don't know who you're talking to. But I think when you are amongst... I'm hesitant to say proper naturists, but you know what I mean.
Genuine naturists.
Genuine naturists, thank you.
Yeah.
When you're amongst genuine naturists, the experience is entirely different for both women and men. But unfortunately, for women who've never managed to try naturism in a genuine naturism environment, they think it's all full of the wrong kind of people, but in reality, it's not.
And I think I've broached this subject before on the podcast, but I think most genuine women as well stop seeing gender
Yes.
within naturism. They're your friend, irrespective of whether they've got a penis or
100%.
But it's getting to that point where you've got to sort of enter it first, to appreciate it for yourself.
Well, you do. You do have to
Yeah.
enter first to appreciate it, and you can't convince anybody
Yeah.
that that's the case. But, in the summertime when we're all sat out having a drink, I couldn't even tell you how many men and women I sat with. I just sat with my friends.
Mm.
Like if you're sat talking to people all afternoon and I'm off doing other things, it's a nothing. Whereas I think in the clothes world, it'd be, well, why is he talking to her all, all day?
I was going to say, I can't imagine having a conversation with Pete all day.
No, he'd talk at you all day. But you know what I'm saying? I'm saying that you don't know. You're completely right. I completely agree with you. You don't notice gender. You just talk to your friends. You don't notice their body at all.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely perfect. All right. Well, that's very helpful, actually, Siobhan. It's nice to talk about these letters, not just to myself.
You've got lots of other things to talk to yourself about, Helen.
Yeah. And we do have more, but we'll leave it there for today. So lovely. Until next time, Siobhan, thank you very much.
My pleasure. See you soon.
As I say, we do like hearing from you. I'll just let you know, I haven't been able to respond to a couple of the emails. I can't respond to AOL or Yahoo. So if I have ignored you, it's absolutely not my fault. British Naturism is working on a solution, so do bear with me. So you guys have asked and we've listened, and I'm delighted to introduce my next guest. It's Dr. Vian Aziz. She's exploded onto the scene, and we're going to find out a lot more about Vian, what makes her tick, and what is in it for her. So please welcome Dr. Vian Aziz. Welcome, Dr. Vian Aziz.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity, actually, to talk about myself and about my journey.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. It really is. And lots of people want to know all about it. Vian, we know bits and pieces about you. We know that you're very active on social media. We know that you're a gynaecologist, and we know that you're from the Middle East originally. So if you can tell us a bit more about that, give us a bit more of the background of Vian.
So Vian is 55 years old. She's a mom for 4 children, grown-up children. I celebrated my youngest one birthday, is 18th birthday yesterday.
Oh.
And it was amazing. Actually, I'm from the Middle East. I left Iraq in 2000, so that's 24 years ago. And then I left Iraq, worked in the Gulf, in Saudi, and then in Dubai. Left Dubai in 2010, where I came to work and live in the UK. I lived in London for 1 year and then moved to Cardiff, and I've been living in Cardiff over the last 14 years. And working as obstetrician and gynecologist, delivering babies and doing cesarean sections. And my special interest is the urogyne, so it's involving the care of women, especially in the after age of 50, with the urinary incontinence and menopause and the prolapse problems. So that's my special interest. And most recently, in 2022, I've just finished my study of the psychosexual counselling, and that's given me more depth in life, actually, and changed my views a lot.
Wow. So it packed quite a lot in there. So let's go back to what it's like as a woman in the Middle East, a young woman in the Middle East. What's that like?
Young woman in the Middle East. I brought up an open-minded family. My dad and mom were open-minded, but the society, I lived I would say my teenage and young adulthood in the 2 very conservative cities in Iraq. So that made me very shy. I was, don't look into people, even eyes or, bodies. I was like, try, to look on the floor most of the time. People, even my friends, when they see me, like, they say you are polite. But the most important thing, you are not covered. Because my family, they don't believe in cover. They are Muslim family, but they are not religious.
Right.
Like my dad wasn't religious. I lost him when I was 20, but then even my mom wasn't that much religious. She's mostly spiritual more than a religious person. But
So you didn't have to wear a headscarf then?
I wear headscarf twice actually, and on those occasions I couldn't tolerate the scarf. One was in Ramadi, the city west of Baghdad, and the other one was when I was in the university in Mosul, because I graduated in Mosul.
Right.
And it's just because my friends were trying to put pressure on me. I mean, you are a good person, you are polite, but the problem that you are not covered. So that's the idea. You are not going to get good man or good husband unless you are covered.
Right. But even though they were applying the pressure, you still didn't conform to wearing the headscarf only a couple of times?
I couldn't continue. I couldn't tolerate it, I mean, basically. And then I moved to Baghdad. Baghdad is a little bit, more liberated and more open-minded people. So, and then met my husband who, he doesn't want covered women. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So unfortunately, you lost your husband, didn't you? How long ago was that?
That was car accident in 2015. Yeah, we lost him for a car accident in Dubai. He was visiting us, and then he returned back from the airport to his work, and then the car accident happened. But I have 4 children, and I see him in them.
Oh, I bet you do. So have you got girls or boys or both?
I have 3 smart boys and 1 beautiful princess.
Oh, very nice. Are they all still at home with you, or have they flown the nest?
No, my daughter lives with her partner. So she's graduated. She graduated from Cardiff Medical School 3 years ago. And the 3 boys, 2 of them are twins. One of them is studying business, and the other one is studying computer science. And the youngest one is last year of A-level and applying for astrophysics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's very smart.
Very academic in your house then.
Yeah, very.
Have you been visiting universities with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing that with mine. Not to do any sciences, though. She's very creative. So she's more into English and film studies. So
brilliant. Yeah, that's great. They grow very, very quickly.
So yeah, it's a new chapter coming for all of us, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that regard. So, I mean, obviously you were raised in a place where modesty and everything else was very important. You had to sort of present in a certain way, or, feel like you had to look a certain way, not show too much. Your household made a conscious decision that you don't have to cover up, but I guess society would probably make you feel like you should have. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's affected me badly in terms of my body image, my my self-confidence, self-esteem. I remember, I was very, very low in my confidence, even in communicating and talking to people, because whenever I want to communicate, I just remember that I'm not covered. I'm not in the standard of that community or the social norm of that community. So I just try to hide myself, even when I'm a doctor and I should have communication with patients. And might be for that reason I chose the being obstetrician and gynaecologist, so mostly dealing with women rather than with men.
Nicely thought out. So were you ever tempted to put a headscarf on just to make it easier, or you're just like, no, I'm not doing it, regardless of whatever society thinks of me, I'm just not doing it?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Dubai, I worked in Saudi for 2 years. So that was obligatory to put a scarf there and be covered. It's not legal to be uncovered. Basically, one of the hospitals where I worked there, the CEO actually, he sent me like books about being covered and the scarf, and then I said, no, this is me. You should respect that. This is me. I'm not going to cover myself. And that was back in 2003.
Mm-hmm. So you would have been how old? About late 20s?
30s.
Okay.
My 30s, I think, in late 30s.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm 55 now.
It is just a number.
Just a number.
No, the reason I'm asking so many questions about the headscarf is because I can relate a little bit. Not a lot of people know this, but my first husband was Muslim and came from a very old-fashioned village in Turkey. And when I had to visit, the family insisted that I wore a headscarf, which made me feel almost like I was taking the mickey a little bit, because I clearly wasn't Muslim. I had blonde hair at the time, blue eyes. And if I refused, they wouldn't let me out.
Yeah, sad. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we fast forward a little bit now, the thing that we have in common, or the biggest factor that we have in common, is that we are both women in naturism, and we're both fairly new into naturism. And for me, it's 4 years, I think. What about you? How long is it for you?
I had my first topless on the beach. Was in October 2022.
Okay, so that's really quite new.
Yeah, and then I love it. I loved that experience so much, like freedom.
Yeah.
It was just, amazing. And that was in Rhodes, one of the Greek islands. And then when I returned back to the UK, I started reading about naturism and about how, you feel if you are naked. And one of the days I decided to go to one of the secluded beaches near Cardiff. And that beach is very beautiful.
Oh.
And it's my favorite place, actually. It's Canfic Beach. And that was April 2023.
Right.
So since then, I started with skinny dipping on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that experience. I just loved it.
Yeah.
Freedom, being yourself. No one is there to criticize or, judge your body. So I started going to that beach, more often.
That's what I get from you, actually. I think that when you first got into naturism, it did so much for you. You get an absolute connection with nature, don't you? So being free with the elements, feeling grounded. Is that like a spiritual thing, do you think? Or
not quite sure, but I love being in the water, the feeling of the water on your body, especially with the skinny dipping. I mean, without bikinis or, any clothes, and you feel the water, even if it is like relatively cold water, like temperature 7 or 8, I just go into the water and I love it.
I know, I saw you in Brighton. It's freaking
we've been, me and Calvin, in the lakes recently, and we've been in the lakes and waterfall and skinny dipping, and I just love it. Yes,
it's clear. I mean, you've started your own Facebook group as well, I think, about walking and, naturist walks and skinny dips. So that's great. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So for you as well, you've got so much out of body acceptance. So were you sort of always conscious of your body, how it might look? I don't know. Did you compare yourself to others? What was your relationship with yourself, your physical self, like?
Might be before I started with naturism, and I was like, I was very conscious about, about my body, if, especially body weight, if I gain a couple of kilos, I just try to go into diet and, be careful with that weight. But since I think started naturism, I'm a healthy lifestyle, and in terms of diet, in terms of exercise, I've been, active, even despite my Parkinson. I'm just very active, swimming, hiking, walking. dancing.
I've seen you dancing at Nude Fest non-stop. I don't know how you've got that energy.
Yeah, and it's not just you, Helen. I mean, like we have heard like comments from people like, how did you have, all this energy to dance, so, especially with Calvin.
It was non-stop. So where's Vian? Oh, there she is still. No, it's great. You're clearly having a good time.
So yeah, I mean, I don't care. I mean, like I think over the last couple of years, I don't care about how I look or how my scars or how my stretch marks or how my nipples or like my bum. It's just like I just want to be like free, like a bird.
Yeah.
Just flying free and not worried about any judgment or any criticism.
And do you think naturism has helped with that?
Absolutely.
Because you've gone from like where it's so not allowed, naturism is not allowed in the Middle East, to like, I'm in the UK, I'm going to do this, I love it, I am now going to go on social media and tell the world about it. That's quite a leap, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And even Helen, I mean, not just the Middle East, but even the Middle East community in the UK is the same mentality. So unfortunately, some of them, they try to get rid of the culture that they came from, but still they are restricted with the society here. I mean, the Arabic and the Middle East society, unfortunately.
Is that why we probably don't see many cultural differences within naturism?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the main points here, especially when I started speaking about naturism. I know there are some naturist women, they don't show themselves. It might be with their, partners or husbands or, in the families, but they don't show themselves. So when I start speaking about naturism, showing my, photos naked and clothes free, they just say, we love your freedom. We love your, how you express yourself, just being free. But they can't. I mean, most of them, they can't break this, this wall because it's very like high.
Yeah. And not only that, it's all they know, really. It's all what you've been taught, and you were able to buck against that. And you started bucking against it anyway with, not wanting to wear the headscarf, in fact, refusing to wear the headscarf. So you were a beacon for change, even back then.
Thank you so much.
So have you had people within maybe your family or friends who have said to you, like, what are you doing, Vian? You're a Muslim woman, why are you on the internet with your naked self?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, as a woman from the Middle East and with the family who are brought up, in the Middle East, definitely I will have some criticism because I took, naturism as lifestyle, especially with my partner, Calvin. But I just try to build, open conversation with them, try to explain what are the, misconception of the naturism. And so I mean, try my best, in just getting them, educated about what's naturism, what's the idea behind it, what's the feeling that you feel after taking naturism. I mean, regarding my children, they know and they accept me having the naturism as a lifestyle. They might not try it, but who knows? Who knows what's in the future?
See what happens at uni.
Absolutely. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the same with our older two, which are Simon's children, grew up knowing no different, really. They knew Simon was a naturist, and those girls will pick and choose whether they want to be naked or not, or whether they want to come with us to naked 5K or a naked walk or whatever it might be. But the younger one, who knew Simon when she was 8 years old, for her, it's something she's been introduced to a little bit later. And I can't imagine her wanting to join in, and that's absolutely fine. But she has got a healthy attitude towards bodies and appearances, and, a lot less judgy than some of the people you see on social media. So I think it's definitely a positive thing. But it's great that you're upfront and open with your children, especially when they could easily say, Mum, you've lost the plot. Have you had any comments or negativity from people across the world on social media?
Definitely. I mean, I have negative comments. I have even sexual harassment on the social platforms like X or Instagram, but I don't care. I mean, as long as I'm happy with my lifestyle, I don't care that much. And just like, get rid of the negativity, be in in my safe space and be positive. So I think even my social media reflect my positivity more than any negative thoughts or any negative harassment.
What made you decide to go 100 miles an hour into naturism? So you tried it with your friends in Greece, then you did a naturist beach, and then you opened a Twitter account. What made you do that?
I think I'm going 1,000 miles per hour. I don't think that I'm driving 100 miles per hour. I just loved it. Loved the feeling of, as I mentioned, the freedom, the elements on your body, the feeling of the breeze, the sun, the warmth, without any barrier that interfere between, those elements and your body. And as I mentioned, it's just being yourself.
Yeah.
I usually, use the authentic self because I think we are all unique and every one of us has a story to tell. And even some people, they said you are inspirational. I would say we are all inspirational whenever we tell our stories because every story is different.
Absolutely.
And so it's just felt empowering. And whenever I increase the speed, I feel more empowered.
Yeah. How many followers you've got? You've got quite a lot of followers, haven't you?
I think 49,000 on Twitter. I started my Twitter account in 2001, I think. But when I started speaking about or talking about naturism was in January this year, 2024.
Is that all?
Yeah. So I was 20,000 at that time.
Wow.
And now it's 49,000. So it's about 30,000.
That's incredible. You're obviously not blocking people.
No, I block a lot. A lot of porn pages, especially if they are retweeting my posts or sharing my photos, because I always mention this is non-sexual nudity or naturism.
Yeah, that's quite annoying actually about the photos on the internet did you see that one that you and I were in it and Simon and Martin and they replaced my head?
Exactly, the Photoshop, and not just Photoshop. I faced lots of fake accounts. They put my photos and with different names. And so people, they come and they say, is that your account? Is that your real account? I said, no, why I hide myself behind, different names? They are not mine.
Yeah. I don't understand why people do that. Like, what are they getting out of it? I don't get it at all.
They're just sick people.
Yeah. And it's bad because, it'll be people like us who are sort of out there and proud on social media. My reasons for doing it is to promote the wellness that we get from it and to try and tell people that it's nothing weird. Like I always used to think it was weird and wrong, but I didn't know any different. And it wasn't until I experienced true naturism for myself that I was like, oh my God, if I've been wrong about it all this time, then everybody else is wrong as well. So that's why I've done it and, want to share the good feeling that it brings. But it does lead us to get some kind of backlash in as much as, well, the face swapping and, image stealing and people calling out exhibitionism. What would you say about that if people would call you an exhibitionist?
No, I'm definitely not. I mean, there's a huge difference between a naturist and exhibitionist because, this is non-sexual. You are not getting any sexual, arousal from putting yourself there naked. And I don't like, this calling me this name or that name. I'm just myself, whether, naked, even, I mean, in terms of the terms, whether naturist, naked or nudist, I don't care. The most important is I'm free, I'm empowered, and I'm just like myself.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And your true authentic self. So we've talked a bit about some of the backlash from social media. What other challenges do you think women in naturism can face, firstly? And then secondly, some of the benefits that women in naturism can enjoy?
Naturism has many benefits of, physical, mental, emotional well-being. So we know the benefits, in terms of the self-esteem, the confidence, loving yourself, accepting your body, regardless of any problems or any imperfections that you see in your body. But I think with women, especially promoting themselves like me and you on the social media, I think the most important problem here is the sexual harassment.
Yeah.
And some people, they feel that, she's just like posting the nude photos because she wants, to get some audience or to get more popular. And that's not the case. Absolutely, that's not the case. I mean, for myself, I don't want people to be like naked or to not be naked. What I want is just, accept me doing that.
Yeah.
Being myself and not applying the social norms or the standards in the society.
You're bucking the trend again.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, someone's got to. But it's clear to see if you look at any of your posts that it's all genuine well-being, body positive, mental well-being. It's all from a good place, and it's a really great message, and it's great that you're doing what you're doing.
And there are lots of studies actually, Helen, regarding the body image and how that affects the person, and especially women. When I was doing the certificate for the psychosexual counselling, and when I'm doing the clinics, I'm seeing patients with body image problems. That's affect their self-esteem. It's affect their even sexually, in terms of the sexual dysfunction in women. It's all related to the body image.
Can you tell me a bit more about psychosexual
counselling?
Yeah, tell me what that involves and what it is, and
so
how it helps.
Psychosexual counselling, actually, it's involved is lots of subjects included with that psychosexual counselling, but it's basically is educating people and dealing with their sexual problems or dysfunction. So there's male, female, and the gender orientation, and again, the relationship problems. So it's dealing with people problems in terms of sexuality and educating people. What motivates me to study the psychosexual counseling is I'm dealing with women with sexual problems in gynae clinics, and I don't have that much knowledge about how I deal with them, even, in the gynae. I would say even in the gynecology curriculum for the college or for the undergraduate, we don't have that much knowledge which concentrate on the sexuality and the sexual problems.
So the gynecology were just focusing on the equipment, as it were.
Absolutely.
The biology.
Yeah.
So you've gone a bit deeper in order to help women. Is it just women that you see and help for that?
Currently just women I see, but the psychosexual counseling certificate, which I did, is involved women, men, and relationship as well.
Excellent. I think a lot of people need to know a bit more about that, and in terms of how it can help anybody.
Absolutely.
And everybody. Alongside Naturism, do you think these things have propelled each other? So were you propelled by your studying and then Naturism fell into it, or vice versa?
I think it's all related, because when I changed my beliefs, because I'm ex-Muslim, when I get out of all this, the idea of the religion and the society, I started exploring. My brain was, working 24/7, and trying to get more knowledge about things which have been hidden from my mind forever.
That's actually incredible.
Yeah, like as if someone have found a treasure, which, and I want to get everything from that treasure.
And you're sharing it with the world, which is incredible. Do you get many comments, direct messages from people that have been inspired by your words or your thoughts?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, many.
Have you got any standout ones that have made you go, oh?
I think, I have. And I'm planning to post them, but just anonymized ones, just to see, what's the perception, especially from the Arab world.
Yeah.
Because, many naturists from the Arab world, they communicated and they opened about their stories. And that's impressive. That's very impressive.
And very brave, I think.
Absolutely.
And like yourself, I think what you're doing is very brave culturally, because, you know, you're facing backlash often within that community, I guess, particularly online, where in the Arab community, it's got to be hidden. Naturism's got to be hidden.
Yeah, it's going to be hidden because it's illegal to have, naturist communities there. So the naturists there are hiding themselves and having, like closed communities, closed groups. And even when they practice nudity, is mostly in closed spaces, is not outside.
Right. So it'd be in the privacy of someone's home.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah, makes sense. In regards to, if you could speak to any woman and if you were to give them one piece of advice about being with the skin you're in, what would you say? The reason I ask is we often get told, oh, it's all right for you to do naturism. You don't care what people say about you, or I haven't got the body for that, or I'm too old to be a naturist. What would you say to any woman listening that is just like, no, what would you say?
I would say, because our society, especially, in the Middle East and the Islamic ones, are very like sexualized and objectified women bodies. So we feel that, we have to be perfect shape. We have to keep this covering this body, to be like, a good mom or good wife. I would say for this woman is trust your body, start feeling your body, accept your body, and be naked or, clothes free in safe spaces for yourself. I mean, like, I know many cases where they can't look at themselves, even in the mirror. And most recently, I posted the mirror exercise on Twitter. And many of them, many people, they commented and they said it's very good exercise, because at the end, we have to accept our bodies and ourselves to be empowered, to feel that you are independent person, because I don't want to be dependent on anyone.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are many changes, even in the Arab world. Feminism is, is getting powerful there. So I just want that woman to accept her body and feel empowered by accepting her body. And as you mentioned, Helen, everybody is different. We are unique.
Yeah.
Our bodies are perfect, even if they are imperfectly perfect.
Imperfectly perfect. That's perfect. No, you're absolutely right. And I think we do ourselves down as women because we're always challenging ourselves to look a certain way, or, my bum might be too big, or I'm getting older, so things are looser than they used to be. And it's, we do say accept the skin you're in, but obviously you want to be healthy as well. I mean, life's bad enough anyway, or hard enough rather, without putting the physical restraints on our bodies. And our bodies are the vessels that have seen us through some very, very challenging times, as women. Yeah.
I would say even in youngsters, I mean, the young people, the young women, they compare themselves with each other even more than the older age. They compare each other because of the social media and, the beauty standards nowadays. And I think that's very destructive.
Yeah. But I think we've always done that. I mean, we didn't have social media growing up, but there was still this common culture to present in a certain way, or, oh, she's better looking than me, or her hair looks better than mine. And, you'd sort of change it. And so we've always had that, or we've always had these pin-up posters to advertise stuff because sex sells. And that is true now, even more so, perhaps. It's within easy reach on social media. Yeah, even when we were growing up, it was all over the television, the cinemas, and, always doing women down.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I feel when I started my naturism journey, and especially when I'm, socializing with people, nobody looks at you. I mean, just like, be yourself.
No one believes that, though. No one believes it.
Yeah.
And you can't possibly know until you're in that situation yourself. And then my first social naked experience at a naturist place, I was kind of underwhelmed that nobody looked at all. Nobody said anything.
I think we met the first time because my naturism started in nature, and then with the skinny dipping, naked hiking, and then I started socializing with people. And the first event when I was socializing is with the dinner that we attended together.
Oh, yes.
And then following that, so I was a little bit worried that, people, oh, well, look at me. My body is not like white, British, like skin. I'm not a blonde. And when I attended the nude fest and then the bits, I really enjoyed them. And I really enjoyed that no one is criticizing you and no one is looking at you or your bodies. What they look is to the person. They want to communicate with that person, like, listen to their thoughts rather than, having a look in their bodies.
Yes, it's been said, naturists know everyone's eye colour.
Yeah, and no one looked at my genitalia, and that's the most important.
How did you find your first dining event?
I enjoyed it, actually. Even, male to female ratio is high, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And it was good to meet you. We've met up a few times this past year, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, especially Nude Fest and bits. I really enjoyed them.
Well, I couldn't find you very often at Nude Fest because you were just on the move. And I think it's pretty true of Pits as well. So have you got any plans for next year? Much of the same? Much more?
Not at the time being. We haven't planned.
I heard that you're coming to the ladies only holiday.
Yes.
Yes.
In April. You remind me because I forgot.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
So are you going to be visiting Pits or Nude Fest or any of the other festivals next year?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a Nude Fest is in July.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah.
This year. And I'm planning to attend everybody as well.
You will love that.
Lots of dancing.
That's right. So loads of energy again, loads of dancing. Even I did some. Loads of activities that you can get involved with. Such a good laugh. Completely different vibe to Nude Fest. It's just so nice that we've got all these different opportunities to get together and meet the people behind the screen. And it makes it a very small world, doesn't it? And meeting all these people that you see online. It's great.
Absolutely. I would say the connection that you build in the naturist community is very deep connection. I met friends who are like yourself. I'm very happy I met you, and yeah.
Likewise. All right. Are there any points that we've not covered that you feel passionate about that you want to share?
You will ask me about my hiking group.
Yes, let's talk about that. Do you actually meet up and go out?
I set up the group on the Facebook and, I invite people there. There are like good numbers, and especially women.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, there's no common hike which we hike together. I'm not quite sure. It might be because women, they don't go into hiking naked that much like men. So
yeah, it's not my favorite thing to do, but I think, exercise is not my favorite thing to do. But I have been on a few naked hikes and I do get it. I do understand why people like to do it. And what I do like about it is the wind in the hair. And, even when it's raining, I quite like that when you're actually walking.
And I think you went to the hiking with Colin and Sadie, isn't it?
Yes. And I didn't die. So we think we're going to do this every year. I don't know why I've just said this out loud, but as part of the wrap up for Nude Fest is a group of people do the Glastonbury tour walk.
Okay, so count me in.
Yes.
For this year.
Yes, definitely.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, it was good. And I think the women, from what I can work out, is when I've been on an organised hike, and often I am the only woman, I think it's being in public. So if you're meeting passers-by on a walk, then I get quite uncomfortable with that. So I'm sure others do too. You don't feel the same?
No, actually, most of my hikes are with Kelvin, my partner.
Mm-hmm.
And we enjoy naked hiking. We have lots of positive comments from people who pass by.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of negative comments, but we didn't care about them. But in general, I love naked hiking, and I've been coastal walks, even in Snowdonia and in the lakes recently as well.
All naked?
Yeah.
Can you do the 3 Peaks challenge naked, I wonder?
Yeah, might be. I mean, if it is in summer, definitely. With warm. Yeah, it's all legal.
One thing I would like to do on my bucket list that I haven't done is a naked skydive. I haven't done any skydive, but if I'm going to do it, I'm only going to do it once. So it's well be naked.
Not for me.
I'll do it sponsored or something, but yeah. But yeah, I'd happily go on a hike with you, a small one, and I'd happily go for a swim in a heated pool. With a sauna I can go into straight after. No, it's been really good talking to you, Vian. I hope we can do this again. We could talk for hours about naturism and the joys, and it's clear to see that you're very passionate about it and you get a lot from it. But not only that, you're sharing it with everybody else and trying to impart your learnings onto the rest of the world, which I think is wonderful.
Thank you so much, Helen. It's really wonderful to be with you as well. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Vian. Each of my guests are fascinating. We've all got different stories and routes into naturism, but it's particularly true of Vian, who I guess we're going to have some sort of backlash because naturism isn't understood necessarily worldwide. But for Vian, being from the Middle East, Muslim background, she's put herself forward in spite of some criticisms that she may face because she is passionate about it. She's very brave and a real inspiration to women all around the world. And like many women in the world, Vian is empowered by naturism. It brings her a sense of calm, a sense of belonging, a sense of freedom that she's not experienced with anything else before. That's why she's so passionate about naturism. That's why many women are passionate about it. It's a freedom from societal norms of beauty standards. You can't quite verbalise what wonders it does. I have some news for our listeners. The Naturist Ladies Only holiday in Fuerteventura in April and May has not sold out. We have space for more women. Carrie at Beverly Hills Fuerteventura has increased her accommodation. She now has some pods, so we can have more guests. So if you're interested in booking a ladies only holiday, obviously you have to be a lady, hang out in the sun with like-minded women, some laughs, then details of how to book will be on the show notes. As ever, please remember to like, subscribe, thumbs up, whatever it's called on your favourite platforms. Your engagement really does make a difference and it helps us enormously. And thanks again for listening. Join us next month as we bring more Women in Focus.